Hey, what's good YouTube? Anti-Yami here, and we're back with another video. And today we got tier sprites with a bestial engine and the cash trillia. I don't know what these cards are called, but bear with me. I'll try to get through it. So yes, this deck I've been playing for a couple of days. I haven't really been on Yu-Gi-Oh that much, and I sat and I think I watched Chris LeBanc's deck list, and I really did enjoy it a lot, and I got a lot of inspiration from it. So I wasn't really sold on the Nimble package here, but the fact that Spright is such a good card, I wanted this card to have more utility, and the best way to have this card maximize its potential is basically summoning 2 monsters off of it. So it's really good. So I'll go through the card by card, and I'll let you guys see the deck list for itself, and then we'll go into discussion, and then we'll go from there. All right. So of course we played the 3 fill spells. I mean, I feel like it's mandatory to play this card at 3. It's literally a Rhoda, and it's also a pop. Very good card. And of course I played the triple scream. Basically it just says mill 3 more based off of what you're already doing, so it can extend more. If you mill this card to the graveyard, you can add a trap from your deck to hand, which always usually adds crime or salad. It just depends on the situation. A lot of times I go for this because this outs a lot more, especially games 2 and 3 when people want to play Dark Ruin Wars or just random blowout cards like evenly matched. Oh my god, this card saved me so many times from evenly matched. So yeah, it's really good. I played the 2 heartbeats only because I feel like it's a really cool one-of. But there's some people that will like main deck Necro Valley or really annoying, floodgates. So this helps me out those cards. And of course, when you mill the card, you can add back a trap card, which allows me to have multiple copies of these guys, which is really good. Salic, of course, it's like a permanent imperm. And of course, on mill, you get to add a tier element monster, which is really cool. And this one doesn't really come up as a mill target, but it has came up a couple times to add back Rhinoheart because he's using the one that's banished unless I get bisted. But yeah, this is also just like pretty much a cool Omni Negate, which comes up a lot. And of course you play, I think this is pretty standard. I always like the 3-3-3 and then 2 of these cards. I think that's really cool. Going into more like the Spright package here, of course you play the triple Nimble because you don't want to open this card. It does go really well with the Shaylin here because you can actually use Shaylin's effect, pitch this, mill 3, trigger Angler's effect to summon like beavers, and that gets you into like more like, gives you more bodies, and these are level 2, so you can go into more like Spright lines, which is really cool. And of course you play the 3 beavers because these are like basically the best Nimble monster. Normal summon, you can add special summon a Nimble from your deck or graveyard, and the graveyard does come up a lot. So that's really cool for that. So this helps you go into more your rank 2s, link 2 plays. Of course you have your Spike Blue, Jet, Red, and Carrot. Now one thing you're going to notice about this, I at the very last second decided to try to take out the Spright starter, because at one point my first version I played it at 3, and I didn't really care too much to it because you don't really run a very heavy Spright engine, and the fact that you can combo into it, you can mill it, and you can bring it back off with the elf. There's so many different ways you can get into your Spright engine, and it's not your main focus. It's kind of like an extra piece, extra layer to your deck, because there's been times where people will counter my tier elements. Like say, for example, I get Shifter. Well, then these guys come in and help me beat Shifter and stuff like that. And I have multiple ways of beating Shifter, as you guys will see in my side deck. But I'm gonna talk about it because it looks really sketchy. So. And of course, I played the Bistic engine. I think they're really strong, especially in the mirror match, and a lot of other different matchups. But I'm thinking about maybe side decking these and just keeping this in my main deck at 1, but I don't know yet. I just seen people do it, and it looks pretty interesting, but I haven't tested it. Of course, you had a double cross, which I think this card is broken. This card is insane. Even when you do get shifted, you can search this card over Smashers, and Smasher is not really live if you get shifted. Now this gives me another card to search, and it's just another just crazy interruption. It's a permanent like change of heart. It's a monster reborn, and it's just like, oh, you want that monster? You can equip it as an XYZ material, which is insane. So like if your tier element monsters, like your opponent like mills Miru, then you can equip Miru from the graveyard to one of your XYZ monsters and no effect. So it's just, this card is insane. If you have this card set and resolve it, like you're pretty much winning this game. It's crazy. Of course, Smashers. Foolish Burial, I think it's mandatory because it goes really well with the Angler, any of your tier element monsters, and I mean, enough said. Instant Fusion obviously is really good with the sometimes I go into Mud Dragon depending on the setup here, but a lot of times you go into your Kikalos. Assurance Teleforming, this is another copy of your fill spell, and then you play 3 Fenrir's. I don't know, I have like, every time I see this card going first, it always feels really good, but in some games where I don't even see it, I'll wonder, do I ever need it? But it's a really strong card, and it actually answers the Spright engine. So like, say for example, if your opponent's on Sprights, it like if they're going for the Toad line, if they got the Spright Elf with the Totally Awesome, you can just special summon this card and it just deals with that entire board. So they have to like play Smashers on it, or you know, it's like very, very scary, because if this goes into battle phase, beat over Toad, it's just insane. So it's a really cool card. So I like it a lot, but I do have like weird, like I feel like it doesn't fit in this deck very much, especially if you go second and let's say you drop a Happiness plus like a Magnamute or something, then this card doesn't come up as much, but it's okay. It's really good because of Mannequin Cat, and the reason why I made this deck the way it is because I want Mannequin Cat to be on my end board at all times. It comes up so much. I think this card is broken, but we're gonna talk about Mannequin Cat once we get there. So going into the side deck, again, it's a little sketchy here. Don't really pay attention to the ratios here, because I used to have like only 1 Thunder King, 1 Chaos Hunter. And then I bumped it up to 3 because I just want to see, because there's been times where I don't even normal summon at all, and then just normal summon a Thunder King, which stops Pot of Prosperity, it stops like Sprites, it stops Drytrons, it stops just a lot of decks, even some stun decks where I'll summon this and they can't really activate some of their cards. It's really, really interesting, and it's actually really awkward to out in today's meta unless you go to these tier limits. You never decide this versus tier. It's just crazy. But the In Anubis, it's really good with the Mannequin Cat. If they, you know, summon a dark monster or, you know, whatever, then you could drop this. And this card is insane. Now, the reason why this card is at 3 right now is because of this archetype right here. Like, if you drop this card against them, they really don't do much. So I had to bump this card up to 3 because I think it's mandatory versus this deck. And versus like Shifter decks that play Shifter, if like say for example I activate Foolish Burial, they Shifter me, and I'm like, okay, I dump something random like this or something, right? And then like I normal summon Beaver go into Mannequin Cat, bring back Shifter with special summon Chaos Hunter. It's just crazy. And then if you have like an extender, you can still play the game, which is really insane. So yeah, Mannequin Cat is just broken. I just love this card. I want to make a deck kind of around Mannequin Cat. It has a ton of utilities because a lot of the times you're fighting the mirror match, and you can special summon like Bistic cards, or you can special summon this if your opponent's on this card. It's just insane. It does so much, and people don't realize how broken this card is until they actually like get the full power of it. I summon this card like every game. It's so insane. I played a triple Tactics Talents because again, it wasn't the main deck, but I didn't want my main deck to be too heavy on like countering. I want it to be like basically like engine cards. That definitely goes well with going second, because you can go second very well and it cracks through boards. And since everybody's dropping like, you know, Bistits, and you know, you'll see more of that in games 2 and 3, I wanted to play that mostly to, like, if I go first, I can peek at their hands and then shuffle back any of the starters. Because this deck already plays through like 90 hand traps, so making them go -1 on that is pretty cool. And then of course going second, I played like the Change Your Heart package here, which just helps me break boards easier. And again, since everybody's pretty much on the same deck for the most part, like taking somebody's Elf or taking somebody's Lulucaros or Rakalos, or whatever this card is now, is really strong, because a lot of people are not ending on negates, they're really ending on interruptions. So taking their interruptions and using it against them is really cool. And of course the triple super polys, because it's super poly. Like, I don't need to talk about that card. The card's crazy. And of course going into the extra deck, we have one Garua, one Mud Dragon. Of course we have the Dragostapelia, Kaleido Heart, Rakalos, and then we have the Kit Kalos. And I feel like this is pretty standard. The card I summon the least in this deck, and it's gonna be surprising, is the Dragostapelia. And it's almost cuttable. I want to cut it, but sometimes it comes up. Like, sometimes, especially with the Super Poly, it comes up more with that. So, yeah, you'll keep it for that. It comes up. Of course, the one Dweller, because everybody's on tier. Mannequin Cat. It's literally just so broken. Like, if you guys don't understand the full power of this card, please, because it can summon any monster. When I read it the first time, I didn't realize it special summoned from the hand or graveyard. I thought it only special summoned from the deck. And then I looked at it again, I was like, that's crazy. So you can actually bring back cards too, because I actually brought back this card. My opponent special summoned a Fiend, and I was like, oh, Mannequin's Cat effect, bring this back, because I think I got Kaiju'd. I think it got Kaiju in a really weird matchup, and I brought it back and it spun back a card. It's insane what Mannequin Cat can do. Of course, we play the one Gigantic Spright, Access Code Talker, another card I never like drop, but it comes up. But there's other lines that can still kill your opponent, but it's there. It could be cuttable. One Dark is insane. It's almost like a Mannequin Cat, but only for like your opponent's dark monsters. IP Masquerena, really good, because if you don't go into Spright Sprin, you can actually go Masquerena into Spright Sprin, and you can dump Merly, and that's a few fusion, or you know, whatever. And of course you guys your double Spright Elves, because Spright Elf is just really good, and it gets so much value off of recycling your small Spright engine, and also especially when back out your Merly for mill 3, you know, shenanigan plays. So yeah, that's the deck. And I know the CG cards are coming out very soon, but yeah, this deck won't be as like the best way to play the deck or anything like that. It's going to be CG cards, and I haven't really looked into builds for that. So I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm gonna play this deck into the new format and see what that does, because I don't want to be on the CG cards right now, because if you're in a tier mirror match, it's just chaos. And if they're gonna mill cards for me, then I'm gonna let them do all the milling for me, and then when it comes back to my turn, then I'm gonna have gas. So yeah, it's gonna be really insane, very crazy format. So hopefully the format is not gonna be a tier 0, but who knows, right? All right guys, well that's it for the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. The reason why I decided to do a deck profile like this is because I don't have all the cards. Like, I'm still missing these 3 guys, so I didn't want to do any proxies or anything. So yeah, all right, but with that being said, guys, have a great one, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.